Hello classy people, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing No Man's Sky. The promise of an almost infinite universe with seemingly endless replay value is certainly alluring, so when Hello Games presented No Man's Sky at E3 2014, they had plenty of gamers on board from the word go. Now that it's finally out, it's time to see how it fares. Let's take a look. No Man's Sky drops you on a random planet in its practically endless universe, and aside from a few tutorials and helpful suggestions, leaves you to your own devices. There are a few story-like paths that you can take that involve reaching the center of the universe or following a mysterious being known as Atlas, but really, No Man's Sky isn't about plot. It's about you going out and discovering the wonders of the galaxy. Probably the most interesting thing about No Man's Sky's world is that there is a pre-established history, and pre-existing alien races to interact with. The constant struggle of communicating with these beings and learning the history of the universe through a foreign language is easily the most engaging aspect of the game, and the way information is drip-fed to you helps to maintain your interest. Unfortunately, in terms of making me want to explore the galaxy, that's all that I found particularly compelling about No Man's Sky. I had no desire to go out and see other planets after my 4th or 5th landing, because I'd already begun running into familiar landscapes, and the procedurally generated wildlife started out interesting, until the repetition of body parts being mixed and matched became too constant to ignore. Thanks to the limited variety in both landscape and fauna, the game's visuals become stale pretty quickly. It also doesn't help that a number of planets are coloured with the most blindingly garish palettes imaginable. To No Man's Sky's credit, I ran into a handful of really nice looking settings, but the off-putting visuals far outweighed anything potentially stunning. The game's audio design fares a little better, with soft, relaxing synth accompanying most of your journey. The sound of wildlife rustling in the environment around you helps to establish the game's generally relaxing tone, but unlike games with a similar sound design, there's nothing that really goes beyond being merely good enough. Beyond its repetitive, often unappealing visuals and so-so audio design, I found that No Man's Sky's gameplay was generally underwhelming for the majority of my playtime. When you first dropped off in the wilderness with a broken ship that you're encouraged to repair, I found that I was having the most fun. Whether this was because it's the most gameplay-focused part of the game, or because I hadn't been worn out by 8 hours of space exploration prior, I'm not really sure. No Man's Sky most closely resembles a survival game, and you're generally required to constantly gather resources to fuel your various gadgets or starship features. Finding blueprints throughout the universe unlocks more sophisticated gear that you can build, giving you more resources to put on the watch list. This works fine for the most part, but it's incredibly frustrating that you can only carry a very small amount of resources at any given time. You're able to transfer gear and materials to your ship, but the ship that you start off with has all the storage space of a toddler's pram. Thankfully, you are able to trade your vehicle for something more suitable, but the more spacious rides cost an arm and a leg, and there's no way for you to transfer the upgrades you've installed in your old ship to the one you're looking to buy. In fairness, the majority of ships on offer are at least visually appealing, and actually flying them is one of the more enjoyable aspects of the game. Even then, it's more enjoyable for the simple fact that it's a fairly seamless experience, and there's no visible loading times between flying through space, entering a planet's atmosphere, and eventually landing on the ground. It's a smooth process, sure, but there's really not a lot more to spaceflight than that. You can engage space pirates or even civilian ships in combat, but the controls are so basic that I found it to be more of a chore than anything. And I honestly think that's the best way to describe the majority of No Man's Sky. It's a chore. Resource collection is boring, and your gear is constantly running low on resources, forcing you to endure the monotony of mining for way too long. Your storage options are limited until you get lucky enough or rich enough to get a better ship, or better storage options for your exosuit. It's all just an effort in boredom or frustration, which doesn't help the feeling that No Man's Sky is maybe too big for its own good. You get the sense that while the universe is practically infinite, there's not enough non-resource management content to stretch that far, which is a shame, because the stuff that has nothing to do with resource management is actually really engaging. Learning new words for ancient alien languages and then using your broken knowledge of this dialect to interpret the requests of various lifeforms is almost like a puzzle, and helps to fill you in on the lore of the world. There's even a novel joy to be found in the discovery and naming of new flora and fauna, even if there's not a huge amount of variety on offer. These aspects of No Man's Sky are great, but they're scarce or poorly implemented, and beyond the thrill of the first flight into space, they're all that really kept me interested in the game. And that's pretty much all I saw of No Man's Sky before I got bored and called it quits. There is some combat to be had against sentry bots and hostile wildlife, but it's so clunky and unenjoyable that there's really no point in discussing it in depth. And the worst part about No Man's Sky is that there's so much potential in its core concept. Having so much universe available to explore is an admirable start, but there are plenty of things that could be added or improved to make this a really special game. Instead, it's just another survival game, not a very good one at that. No Man's Sky gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of bad. Despite its potential greatness, No Man's Sky has a whole lot of issues. Its misguided, boring focus on resource gathering, plain spaceflight, and repetitive wildlife and environments make me wish the universe on offer was a lot smaller and more condensed. At least then, the limited variety of planets and wildlife that I experienced might be mixed in with another set of repetitive landscapes and fauna so that the problem didn't seem so glaring. If you're really looking for something with not a lot of plot that you can just sink hours and hours into, without variety in gameplay, then No Man's Sky is for you. But until the game gets some severe updates, I can't in good conscience recommend it to anyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the review informative. If you missed the last review on Abzu or my top 10 aquatic creatures in gaming, click the annotations. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go check out Starbound because a friend told me it's basically a better 2D version of this.